Hey guys, all right, I think we are live, and so give me just a sec because once you go live, you got to test it and see if you're seen and heard all over the place and everywhere. Forgive me if I get a little reverb or something like that on my mic because I'm still trying to figure out as I come back to the desktop. I'm still trying to figure out what's going to be the best mic option, and I continue to try different things and everything seems to give me problems. So until we work out our mic, please just kind of bear with us. And hopefully it is good. I'm going to go to my page here. Let's pull up my YouTube here and see what I sound like. Let's just go to my video. This is going to tell me that. Excuse me. It's going to tell I'm drinking lemonade and I've got the hiccups. It's going to tell me I'm live.
An average user's recorded $6,500
after the ad, of course.
Download Everlance for free today.
Okay. See, I don't like that sound. I gotta figure out how to. Let me see if I gotta figure out how to make that better. That kills me. That's not good. I don't like that sound. I gotta figure out how to. Let's see if I gotta figure out how to make that better. Test, test, test. Okay, so what I did was I turned it down. All right, let me do that. Let me close that. Close it. Okay. So what I did was I turned it down on my end. I'm sure that has it. Like I said, I'm coming back to the desktop, so bear with me as we do this, as we go through this. But I was talking with a friend earlier, and I was really trying to figure out what I want to do on my YouTube Live. Now, you already know, or you may know, but for those of you that are going to get grabbed up by the title of this and coming in, if you've not yet, if this is an introduction to DryerBuzz for you, then let me tell you a little bit about myself. Of course, you may be able to glance around and see that I've had a YouTube channel for about a decade or so, 11 years I think we've been on YouTube. And I have been a blogger in the city of Atlanta for 16 years with DryerBuzz.com. Probably a good 20 years blogging, storytelling, internet radio, all forms of broadcasting on the internet. And then, of course, spending about 30 years trying to close the digital divide. And so this year, coming out of caregiver space, and I think I'll probably forever be in the caregiver space with this choice I'm about to make. But going through the caregiver space myself and now trying to heal afterwards, it brought me into the kitchen. And of course, I went into the kitchen and cooking for my mom. After, coming out of the kitchen and taking care of the kids, I found that my skills were meal planning, shopping, and all that was a little behind. But it's just like riding a bike. You get back on it, get back in it. I found a new love for it. And I've been trying to figure out what to do with it. But me being the person that wants to help others, the one thing that was shocking to me is that until you are in the space, you really truly don't understand what another person is going through. And I think at this point I carry so much guilt from it not being able to help others before I got there. And I don't want to abandon others as I leave that space, and it's a different life. It's a different life on the other side of it. It's a different life before you get here. It's a different life when you get here. It's a different life afterwards. And I think the biggest mistake that we make, or my daughter told me, is trying to keep managing it in a form of trying to find the constant normal of it. There is no normal of it. And I think even though we all kind of go through it, there still is a difference and different nuances that make it our own struggle. And I think for me, the joy, there was a little bit of joy that I found, even though it was a big responsibility. At times felt like a burden. It was still a joy that the times that my mother and I could share over a meal. Taking her a plate of food and seeing the satisfaction on her face. My mother had an appetite, okay? And so being able to satisfy the appetite and explore different meals at the same time, learning to prepare things just the way she liked it, um, things that were familiar, things that, calm the day, preparing those things at the same time, exploring new things, exploring recipes and at times learning to make something that, Southern cooking, trying to do that on a healthy tip, and so forth. And there were times it's like, okay, let's just stop thinking about healthy and let's just enjoy some good food. And then through that, there were times when going in the kitchen and preparing meals, just like even before I pushed this button, my daughter came to me and she said, Mom, what are you cooking today? And I'm like, I cook on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. She's like, yeah, but I kind of like it. So, even in the aftermath of caregiving, for them to come to me and have the expectation that I'm going to be in the kitchen, I like that. I really do. I like that. Let me see if I can minimize some of these screens here. So what I want to do in this live, and you guys, I'm just going to kind of show you around the social media platforms what we have placed out there and how I think it's going to help you. One, is going to help you because I know where you are, I know where you've been, and I know where you're going. And I just want to be a resource because I know trying to find resources for myself was difficult, and getting people to understand where you are, it's hard. It's very hard. But there is so much joy in it, in the food. I'm not a chef. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not trying to play one on live stream. I'm not creating any of these channels for that purpose. But I know you want something good. You only have a little bit of time to be in the kitchen and away from your loved one. And at the same time, for me, it kind of became therapy, going out shopping and going to the stores. I had not done the grocery shopping. I mean, I was one of the breadwinners in the household, but when we went into the caregiver space, the two people who were the breadwinners, who took care of the shopping, were enrolled in caregiving and did not have the time to do it. So it began to fall on other family members. And the bad thing we started doing was eating out a lot, eating the wrong things, and getting away, because we just needed time to do all this other thing. And then too, that you hear in the background sneezing, that's the dog. And so you'll definitely hear the dog on my live stream because he and I have both not figured out. He's got a great beard. He's like, I'm not trying to learn anything new. I'm not trying to be. And he's looking at me like, oh wait, they heard me. Yes, they heard you. That's my new companion. That's my mother's dog, my son's dog. Taking care of him also belongs to other family members. And then it's like, okay, wait, you got to take care of the dog. You got to take care of mom. All of these things came on me. And to keep my sanity, I came back to live streaming. To keep my sanity, I made shopping an adventure. To keep my sanity, I made cooking an adventure. To keep my sanity, I even ate a little too much. So now I'm like having to really balance it out. I'm trying now to get the caregiver weight off, It's an adventure. It is an adventure. And yeah, there's a lot of sadness to it. But when you get to the other side of it, and to be able to look back at these great moments and great meals that you had together or will have together, it's going to be awesome. So, all right. So recipes. First thing you're going to do is rebuke the recipes because you're like, whoa, I don't have time. I don't have time. What do you mean do this and this? And why is it 17 ingredients? That's my pet peeve. When I came to find out a lot of things that I love, I will tell you something that saved my life, and I don't have an affiliation with them yet. Hopefully I will at some point. But Publix, the apron meals, that was when I wanted variety, I would go there. But there's a lot of convenience to that. And I had a couple of healthy cooking coaches online that I followed. Like you guys are watching me. I watched a number of people, connected with them, went live with them in my kitchen, learned some knife skills, learned some food skills, some vegetable, some how to dial back the convenience. I learned how to make homemade sauces. I perfected my gravy, things that I've known growing up cooking. Of course, I had to go back to that because those are some of the things that my mother was comfortable with. After you just had a bad week, you want to give a good plate of food, right? And so that's some of the things and things that, trying to perfect my mother's sauces. She had a sauce for everything. And I remember shortly after she passed, I already dropped that bomb. But my daughters and I were in the kitchen trying to whip up her chicken a la king and trying to figure out the sauce. And then we realized once we got it down right, we always said, well, remember, you always want a little more of this. You always want a little more of that. What if we do that? And we did that. And so now we have not only her recipe, but we also have tweaked it a little bit to what we like. I used to always love a lot more sauce. My daughter, she loved a lot more chicken. The other, she loved a lot more vegetables, like, the mushrooms and the peppers, right? And so we found the perfect combination. I snuck in a little bit of smoked paprika. Mom, why is it a different color? That's my grandma's. Because I like smoked paprika. So, and as you can see, I laughed at that moment. I didn't cry at that moment. And that's what I want this to be about. So, you're staring at my YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do for those of you who have not yet followed us on YouTube, already I've got, I don't know how many videos, and let me see. I have a playlist set up called, let me see, created playlist. It's called DryerBuzz Eats. Already oh my God, y'all. There's 73. That can't be right. 73. Well, it has been a year doing this. So 73 videos in this playlist. I'm going to go ahead and bring the playlist up for you guys. And just, I had no idea. I had no idea. So I'm going to scroll over here on this sidebar. Let me move this over a little bit so I can see what you see. All right. So if you go to the playlist, and I'm not sure, I think I was on the page. So I think I'm viewing this as you would view it, but it's giving me a couple other options. So the playlist, if you scroll down, it's going to show you videos. And normally what I do is I will live cook, and I haven't done too many of these live on YouTube, and that's why I'm here now today announcing that I'm going to do more on YouTube. I normally do them on Facebook, but I want to, we've changed up the angles in the kitchen a little bit so that we can bring in the YouTube, another device, which will have YouTube, or we'll end up with, I think we're going to end up streaming, multi-streaming. But right now, we've always done them on Facebook and then as well on Instagram. But I want to start doing them live on YouTube. I'm just trying to get a right angle for YouTube, because YouTube is a little bit different, right? And I'm now, because Instagram has IGTV, it has to be a portrait video. And so we're tweaking it around. But what I do, because on the Facebook live, we usually hang out like an hour or two, literally in the kitchen, not just cooking, but I'm usually talking about a couple of blog topics and so forth and so on. And so let me see if I can kind of put something on the screen so you guys can look at something a little bit better while I am. And my system is just a little slow. I got a couple of windows open here, too many. Let me see. Can I close something? I'm not using this one. Let me see if I can close something so you guys can get a better view. Let's see if we can get a couple of these windows down. Okay, that's one, and then I think this one I can close. Yeah, I got these open twice, so let's go ahead and close out some of these things. Trying to help. We're a kid. All right, there we go. Okay, because I know it's moving a little slow. And again, like I said, my desktop, I've had it forever. Let me tell you, these tacos. Let me bring up the tacos. I'm gonna pause it right there. Pause. Okay. These tacos, my family is still talking about these tacos. And this was our first time doing the tacos with ground chicken. Now we've done, chicken strip, chicken in all varieties. Okay. Unfortunately, the first thing somebody told me this morning, help us get beyond chicken. But let me tell you, I went to the store and I was looking at it where I was going to do turkey. We were doing Taco Tuesday. I was going to do turkey. I was going to do fish tacos and all that kind of stuff. So we ended up doing a fish taco, but I gave them an option of the ground chicken. We did ground chicken instead of ground turkey and fish tacos. Nobody, can you please stop, sir? Thank you. Nobody went for the fish taco. Everybody tired of chicken as they are. Everybody went for the chicken taco, and as you can see, it was a mile high taco. But it was so good. And I guess I'm a little bit healthy. I don't know. I don't know if we want to talk healthy, but the flavor of it, because chicken takes on so much flavor. And with the chicken, I think the guacamole, the vegetables. We also did kind of a fajita style peppers and onions, but to that peppers and onions, we added pineapple. And that was my secret ingredient. And when I tell you, biting into that taco, and those do that like chicken pastor, I think that's how you say it, tacos, or that is what the taste came through. But the chicken lent so much more space to indulge in the other flavors, and it took on the seasoning very well. The peppers and onions, you see it. We did both grilled onions, raw onions, and meat. I just kind of put out an array. We really did the ultimate Taco Tuesday, and we did it as a tailgate special because I was talking about football. So it was while my live streams have been long, I always try to come back and do a very short version. As you know, see this video is just a couple of minutes. Actually, this is just a oven, kind of like a sweeping cam of the taco. But we always come back and do a very short video on the food because, again, me being a blogger and a storyteller, like even now, there's a lot of narrative that goes into the live stream, but we always come back. And that was another thing about being in the kitchen, coming back and doing a short video on just the food, which is why I now want to share that in the caregiver space because people are asking. And also, guys, I'm also an author, and I do a lot of brand sessions with entrepreneurs about how to use social media. And I always tell them, and I have to listen to my own advice, when people say, I wish you had this, or I wish you did that, that's a level of service on social media that you can offer. So when people were saying, after watching the live stream, saying, I wish you had a short video, I wish I could see just the food, I was like, oh, okay, let me do that. You can. So we did a couple of videos. I did not, because this video was, there it is. We came back the next day with leftovers. And since nobody went for the fish tacos, the next day we had some salmon on marinating. And we love the peppers and pineapples, and I'll show you that one. That's just a little 42-second video. All right, so as you can see, and there's the ground chicken. So with those videos, I just very simply added them, just as short videos. I haven't done like a major video. We didn't do a major video for that because it was one of my long days where we had a whole lot to talk about. So here's an oven cam on mac and cheese. The oven cam videos are really popular, so I'm loving that. Let me bring that up to there we go. Make that a little bit larger for your screen. Because I don't know. Let me go back into this. I want to see how it looks on the video. Mute that. Okay. For your screen. I don't know. And I'm gonna play around today. I'm gonna figure out which one of these microphones. I got a bevy of microphones here in front of me, and I need to figure out the sound quality. Either I'm gonna plug up the headset and hopefully the right mic. I have a Nestle Blue mic. I have another USB mic. So I gotta really figure out the audio on that. And I probably could charge up this other one. I think that's probably one that I could use. I'm gonna write some tests. I'm gonna do a mic test later. All right, so that is the mac and cheese, and like I said, I love smoked paprika. So if you want to know what that is, on top of that, I always hit off my mac and cheese or pretty much any other dish. I'll put a little smoked paprika on top. My mother always did it for the color, flavor, and so forth and so on. So I always love it, and that's something I'll always have. Well, my mom, the paprika and the smoked paprika. So, but and then let me see, how does the playlist work? Okay, so when you on that side, the playlist is down here. Oh, the blueberry tart. The blueberry tart. One thing I always loved as a caregiver, one thing my mom always loved was just having a little something sweet. And here's a commercial, so bear with me. We'll get right through that.
What's going on, everyone? And right now I'm at my offices here.
Yeah, that one had 2 commercials. Okay, come on. Good. All right, there we go. All right. So this one was a very simple dessert. Like I said, a lot of times because you don't have a lot of time as a caregiver, you just need to run in the kitchen, get something, and come out. And a lot of us, depending on, just having something sweet in the house, being able to sit and have time together and enjoy this, this was really good.
And for dessert, this was a quick one. Plus, filling berries. You know me, I like to eat steps. So what we add in another step. Right here, I'm just adding some honey to some Greek yogurt. How simple is that, right? Give that a nice stir. That becomes the basis of the tart. That's your filling. Put in your favorite topping with we use. So.
I'm going to pause here just for a second. What I loved about this recipe, it was very simple. And in the caregiver space, I have found and gone out and found little tricks of the trade. And I love looking at recipes just to see some of the simple steps, like to create kind of a cheat sheet. And so one thing I love about what I call caregiver meals is recipes that only call for 2 to 3 different ingredients. And because a lot of times people can't handle a lot. Like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm not going to get in that lane of trying to go veggie or things you can eat for this illness or that illness. But I do tell you, make any substitutions that you need to. A lot of people are dialing back. In the yogurt, it's recommended on a lot of things. But what I loved about this simple tart was the flavor was really in the crust. They used the sugar cookie crust. I didn't even know such thing existed. Okay, they used the sugar cookie crust. They only called for Greek yogurt, and you sweeten it with honey, and then you add the berries on top. Now I took it a step further and did a 2-layer. I did a layer with cream cheese, and then I did a layer with the Greek yogurt. You'll see that in there.
Blueberries with a raspberry. But then, me, I had to do a little something extra. So took a little bit of cream cheese, right? And just added some sugar. So that way, we had 2 elements in our tart. We had the bottom layer of the cream cheese, and then the second layer of the Greek yogurt, okay? And then just top that with our favorite berries, some raspberries and some blueberries. Now, interesting enough, again, if you want to have a little bit of engagement, a little bit of interaction at the festival, and then do it in your setting, right? Or just go ahead and do it at home. Make sure you keep it nice and chilled. And there's so many great ways to carry items to your festivals, to keep them nice and chilled. See how I started here? I'm just putting on the bottom layer of that cream cheese. Not a lot of thickness, I know. You just got to keep it simple, right? So let's spread that around. We use the shortbread crust. There's so many different crusts out there. So experiment a little bit. That one was a shortbread. We put down the cream cheese. Now, here we go. We're adding in the Greek yogurt. This Greek yogurt has a lot of secrets out there. I even heard you can make biscuits with just Greek yogurt and flour and a few other items. And, adding a little bit of vanilla, took it to a whole other level, taste, texture, and everything. So I just mixed that, spread it all around, just kind of lightly spread it around, and of course topped it with my berries. All right, and you can use whatever season. Think about whatever's in season, but just think about it. What if you're at home and you want something sweet, but not too sweet? Keeping some berries on hand is easy to do when you run off to the market. The pie crust, you can buy enough pie crust, you can keep them in the fridge or freezer. Maybe you don't like to hold a lot in the freezer, but you can keep these things on hand, and then all you gotta do is jump on here on our channel and see something easy and just go right into the kitchen and make it. Oh yeah, gotta add that powdered sugar on top. That takes it a whole other level. Almost look professional, does taste really good.
So I was glad to have this one under my belt because, like I said, when you want something sweet, very simple. And the thing about it, when you have a recipe that calls for Greek yogurt, the yogurt, when you get like anytime you're buying like the plain yogurt, they come in such large containers. So rather than have it just sitting in the fridge, just get it, add a little honey to it, and then put it on a pie crust with some berries. Next week, I think I'm going to, or I know I'm going to try it with. I bought this little gadget, and this was another thing too about the caregiver space and going back into the kitchen. I had to up my gadget game, and we did a little thing called going from gadget to gourmet. But I bought this little gadget that's going to help me make empanadas, baked pies. That was one of the things I know my mother's generation, our parents, let's just say it like this, our parents' generation, they grew up on those like fried pies, which we're going to, of course, bake for the healthy side of it. But just little things like that. And I think, exploring recipes from their generation, one of the things that we always talked about was that you hear a lot from the parents is like they didn't have much. And so that's what I loved about this pie. That's what I loved about a lot of the desserts. Because when you think about making things, that they had during their time, for those of you that are in this space now, things that they had during their time, they didn't have a lot. And like now today, we can afford to do a pie that has umpteen ingredients. Whereas during their time, just to have a little bit of sugar, okay, to go in something sweet, because a lot of the items and desserts and things that they grew up on, didn't require all of that. It just wasn't about all of that. And so, like that's why they had things that we take for granted now, to be able to go and put in a cup of sugar, and because a lot of times that having something like that meant coming together as a community. So, but this I'll go ahead and get that out of the way there. I think I overdid it a little bit on the sugar. I'm learning, and that's the thing about this. Oh, let me show you guys this one. A lot of conversation about cauliflower. And as you can see, this one's in portrait mode. We did this one for Instagram. And actually for the mobile version. So those of you watching on mobile, you see this perfectly. Desktop, probably not so much. That's me sifting some ingredients together right there. Some not herbs, but spices with the flour. And just added in the buttermilk. And this is why I say a cheat sheet, because once I figured out that, I really want to try this on actual chicken. That was so cool right there. So I'm thinking if that's a good batter for cauliflower, it'd probably be a good batter for chicken. I love the color of it. And the color came from, again, smoked paprika. And then you just baked it off in the oven. And when I tell you, when we put that buffalo, I did a combination of a barbecue buffalo because I'm not an all buffalo eater. So as you can see, I mixed the barbecue and the buffalo together. And then you just brush it on. And I put too much batter on. I just kind of poured my thing on there instead of just laying out my cauliflower. But when I tell you, it was literally a meal. You could not eat just one. You could not eat just one. And this was our first time having cauliflower as in the household. Other than just regular cauliflower. This is our first time trying this, and so once we baked it off, you put the barbecue sauce on there, your buffalo barbecue sauce on there, put it back in the oven, let that crisp up, cook up, bake up, broil up, however you're gonna do it. I spent a lot of time baking cauliflower with this sauce. Okay, really? It's like, hurry up, get it in the oven. And there it is. Look at that. And it's so funny because when my daughter looked in the oven, she really thought we had wings, because you walked in the house and it smelled divine. And she looked in the oven, she was like, oh, cool. And I was like, it's not wings, it's cauliflower. And you eat one and it's so bursting with flavor from the sauce, you have to eat another. And the cauliflower really has a really good bite to it. Almost like the broccoli, a little bit actually bigger bite than broccoli. But I'm gonna try that batter on extra chicken because that ended up being good. I've never done that. And again, we, like I said, we eat so much chicken, and people try to figure out what else can be done with chicken. But why not do the same thing? Have chicken and cauliflower, right? So that was a good one there. All right, so again, I'm going to ready to jump off here. I basically just kind of wanted to come on and show across the platforms what we have for those of you that are cooking and caregivers that are cooking. I don't know how to say this. Cooking when caregiving and cooking, or cooking for caregivers. I've been where you are, and I know that this is one of the things that you're probably trying to figure out. So also on Instagram, let me go over here on Instagram. I'm going to show you, like I said, I've created, even though we have our regular Instagram channel, which is DryerBuzz, we also, again, for those who are just looking for the food, we put it on DryerBuzz Eats on Instagram, and this is just a little something showing you. And literally, we post a video step by step. Here again was the tacos. Here again, there's your ground chicken. There's the vegetables. This is the ingredients. Some of the ingredients we did with the peppers and pineapples. We did some Roma tomatoes, green pepper, red pepper, 2 onions, and a package of and I did a package of the pineapple because I didn't want to bother cutting it up. And then, of course, the cheese, taco shells, and then, of course, our favorite seasoning, which is Dr. Flavor Spices. This one really became a staple down here, the pork chops right here. That's something that we're doing periodically. The onions in that. These is the pork chops. They kind of taste almost like a French onion soup because you end up with a really hearty sauce. And like I said, one thing about going in a caregiver, just to give a little bit of variety, while you want to stick with some staples as far as the protein and so forth, it's in the sauces that I think will give you the richness and the variety. Okay, because you can always go from a barbecue sauce to a real hearty smoked sauce, and that I think is the one of the things that I say coming through this that I really learned to do was to perfect the sauce. And our parents grew up with a lot of gravies, and they ate a lot of rice and those kinds of things. And so, a real hearty meal. I remember fixing my mother a plate. Is like when she had kind of stopped wanting to eat. And when I would fix certain things, it's like she'd go all in. And that was a joy for me watching her go all in. So definitely loving those. And then again, step by step, yes, posted them as individuals. If you want to do that like individual, like say for instance, you're cooking along, a lot of times it's easier to follow us on the Instagram channel than to have to kind of keep stopping and pausing the YouTube channel. Like say for instance, if you were going to prepare this, you could start on the onions, okay? Here's how we did the onions, you know. And then that way you can go step by step. So you got your onions, and then you want to go on, and this is what, you know, your onions, this is the end of what your onions going to look like when you start to add in the garlic. So, you know, you don't have to worry about stopping and starting. You're just going to scroll it on the grid. I'm clicking on it because I'm on the desktop, but if you're on your mobile, you just basically swipe to the next video, and that'll show you the next step. So following along on the Instagram, if you are going to go step by step, like adding in the peppers, you know. And then you will swipe to the next, and this is what it, you know, looks like when you stop, stop, you know, giving it a stir. And then you go the next step. Okay, now you got to brown your pork chops. And these pork chops, I marinated them basically in seasoning and mustard. Mustard is a really good tenderizer for one. It also adds a lot of flavor, and taking and that flavor stays all the way through the dish. A lot of times, you know, even though you marinate it, sometimes, you know, you want something that's really going to stay with the flavor throughout the dish. And this was once I added the pork chops to the vegetables, because I did the vegetables and then we browned the pork chops and then we added them together in the pan. You can see I already had a good sauce going, just added a little bit of cream because I wanted to bring it to kind of a little bit more of a richness. Just a little bit of cream already to a sauce that was really good. See that sauce? And that came from, I don't think I added in, may have added in a little bit of flour just to kind of get it to a gravy. And then I added in a little bit of cream to that. And then, of course, just let that simmer off. So as you can see, it's really easy to follow step by step. Also, again, we show you the ingredients. Like here's one. That squash didn't make it into the dish. I was trying to do a veggie heavy dish, but we ended up doing the corn. And then these other ingredients, of course, is what went on the pork chops. Let's see, and that's what we ended up with. Sweet peas. We opted for sweet peas. Let me see. And then also, this is some dining out. You know, dining out. This we do a couple of videos about juicing. One thing, I think the biggest step to it, and don't think of the juicing just as either a weight loss. The juicing really helps with digestion. And that was, I know, an issue. And my mother, she was always, not necessarily a petite woman, but she was always really concerned about her weight. And there were times, you know, she would put on the weight, you know, when she could really eat and eat good, she'd put on the weight. But especially for, listen, let me tell you about digestion is really important when you're caregiving for somebody, because especially if they're on medication, and if, you know, sometimes they'll say, you know, they don't feel like their medications are working, and what happens is the doctors oftentimes will up the doses and things like that, which takes them over another edge. But if you really work on keeping some healthy juices around, that will help them with digestion. That digestion also helps the medicines get in their systems very well. So that way they don't have to have such high dosage. So that's the thing to think about when you're adding in some juicing to caregiving. Not to mention the fact that it's healthier. You know, I know one thing I was always trying. My mother drank so much sweet tea. I was oftentimes trying to get her off the sweet tea and to try other things. This is just basically a carrot and white grape juice. Okay, so natural, and it tastes good. When you're thinking about juices for in caregiving, you have to get them to think about it. It implies all of their senses. What you smell is not what you taste. What you see is not what you taste. And so the juices taste very good. But one thing too, because another thing in caregiving, we would always bounce from, and those that are in caregiving are going to understand this, always bounce from, what is it? Oh my God, constipation to diarrhea, right? Trying to find that healthy balance of getting them to matching it. But juicing will oftentimes aid you in that if digestion, if you know, constipation and diarrhea is the thing in your regimen of having to manage that, you know. Um, and I know my mother oftentimes wanted to take a laxative, and you know, just because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but adding in a juice, you know, that so not taking them through a whole juicing regimen, but just giving them fresh juice. You know, fresh juice is really good for them. Again, helps with the digestion. It's going to help them help their medicines, help the body absorb the medicine, so they don't have to end up on such high dosages. And it's going to keep them regular, and that's always a good thing. Also, biscuits. We're talking about a generation that grew up on biscuits. We're a generation. We're not baking. So I found a couple of biscuit recipes. This one right here, believe it or not, again, utilized that Greek yogurt. My daughter came home with a recipe for this week. Had this Greek yogurt left over. We already made the pie. We put it in this recipe and that recipe, and I still to this very moment have some of this Greek yogurt still in the fridge. So she came home and she said, a friend of mine gave me a 2-ingredient biscuit recipe, and that is this 2 ingredient. It's literally Greek yogurt and flour, and then of course you can add in some other things. And again, step by step, literally flour, Greek yogurt. It made an awesome batter, and then again, of course, you can add some everything, because if somebody's gonna tell you how to make biscuits, honey, by the time they start telling you, you gotta have baking powder and baking soda, all-purpose flour, this, that, and the other, you're like, I'm not making biscuits. But for biscuits that you're gonna eat fresh and hot, and for our parents' generation, they love biscuits with your molasses and these deep syrups and honeys and that kind of thing. Because what you want to do is you want to give them something that is familiar and that they love. And so we attempted to make the biscuit. So now, at any given moment, I can go in the kitchen and whip up the biscuits, and you see they look good. They came out really good. And then too, I had a couple of other biscuit recipes, and then these are the breakdown. As I was telling you about the cauliflower. Like again, if you follow on DryerBuzz Eats on Instagram, you're going to see step by step on how to do that. If you've never ever cut into a cauliflower, and then like, even though this right here looks like this is from the shopping spree, and all of those little ingredients, again, what happens is this is what, let me bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. This is all the stuff you have to buy, but down here, this is how much of it you're going to use. So you have to kind of weigh in on your budget. Again, budget is big time in the caregiving space, because oftentimes that person that's caregiving, your income changes because you're not working as much. And in our household, myself, then taking care of my mom, that's 2 major incomes that we lost. And so budgeting was really, we had to pay particular attention to the budget. When I went out and shop for the fresh vegetables, I usually have a good $20 budget for my produce. So I can't be running up in all the fancy stores, but I found a perfect local produce store where I can go and I can get some great vegetables. And then, of course, having the budget of going to my other stores. And then, too, utilizing everything that we bring home. So I cook a lot with buttermilk now. And that's so funny because I never cook with buttermilk. But again, that was something that our parents' generation, they had buttermilk everything. And not only that, it's good. Oh my God, it is good. Buttermilk in your gravies and your sauces and your batters and so forth. Y'all finished? Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't even get a text. Oh, I didn't see it. Where here? Maybe it's under the thing. All right, so buttermilk is going to be good. That was something that I added, keeping on hand, and using that in the sauces and all that. But again, if you look at what I have down here, the dishes, this is why I say you wanna think about what you're gonna go. You're gonna try recipes, because, like for instance, with this one, it required that large amount of Greek yogurt. but then only a little bit of it went in the recipes. Here, down here at the bottom, this orange, that was the amount of sauce that went on the cauliflower, but yet I had to buy a jar of it and so forth. And then of course the flour, like you start, you just make your substitutions and changing in the sizes and stuff. One thing that I have fallen in love with, everybody knows this about me now, is the lemonade. Again, using fruits, putting fruit in hot water. Okay, pink lemonade. There's no such thing as pink lemonade, but peach lemonade is a thing. You take your lemons and your peaches. You don't squeeze your lemon. You don't peel your peaches. You just cut your peaches up in large bites. Put that in some hot water with some lemon. I tell you, y'all, it makes the best lemon. I'm drinking a cup. That one right here. You guys can hear that. So good. But definitely peach lemonade is a thing now that's in the house. This one right here was a dessert that we just decided, again, because oftentimes you will want something sweet on hand. Took just a couple of Oreo cookies. Again, I think we took the Greek yogurt. I don't know if this is, no, I think this was some cream cheese. I don't even see, this one was like really a trial run. I didn't, oh, you know what? I was playing around trying to learn a new crust, and my daughter came behind me and whipped up this out of cream cheese. It almost came out like she played around with it. It almost came out like an egg custard, which again is something really familiar with our older generation. Chocolate cake. Believe it or not, I made chocolate cake from scratch. I swear to you, and literally, I think this one was a 4-ingredient chocolate cake. Yep, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-ingredient chocolate cake. It was basically some flour, some sugar, buttermilk, and cocoa powder. Because again, I had to buy cocoa powder for one recipe, and I ended up with this big bag of cocoa powder. So this one is already getting a lot of traction on the Caregiver menu, and that was something our parents really loved, was the fried green tomatoes. I saw them at a restaurant someplace stuffed with pimento cheese, and so then again, step by step, I'm sharing that there. So I'm going to get ready to jump off, but I just wanted to come on and make a full-on introduction of something that we will, meat pie. Meat pie. Casseroles are really big for caregivers. Caregivers and casseroles are really big because, again, you don't have that much time in the kitchen. So making a casserole something you can eat, not every day, but, eat it, freeze it, and then that way, if you want to do the freezing, but rotating it through. And a lot of times, like meal preps and so forth, as you can see, again, here are your ingredients that I did for that. And this one came off of one of those recipes at Publix. It was literally, it was a turkey sausage mix, some turkey, no, it was ground beef and sausage, turkey pepperoni. In one of their cheat sheets, what I call cheat recipes, was using classico for the bruschetta, and then added in some pimentos, and then a 6 cheese blend, a couple eggs. Literally, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients. Again, not a lot. The ground beef, and added in it did require, it had spinach and so forth. So adding those in steps, and I made personal pies, and they came out really good. This one was the pretty one. As you can see, I featured it. So, and then again, of course, and getting out, let's see here. And again, juicing, when you think of juicing, think of it just because it does aid the digestive. And that's something. Here again was another casserole. This one was ground turkey, mushrooms, and herbs and spices. Oh, it was cabbage. This was a turkey and cabbage casserole, and I was surprised. There's ingredients on that. I literally I do this thing where I go in and clean out the vegetable bin, and I was like, what can I do? I've got some cabbage, some peppers, some onions, I've got a squash, I've got a potato, and I took it all to the mandolin and ended up with that. Let's see here. Blueberry cobbler, learning how to make the cobblers, that was a favorite. Literally just boiling your, bringing your blueberries to a boil. It was literally a couple of steps to make this cobbler. Look at this. And I love that we ended up with almost like a cake recipe. Look at that cake. Yeah, the cake ended up on top of the berries. Put in the berries. Literally berries, batter. No, what went in first? Butter went in the pan. The batter went in, and the berries on top. And somehow through the cooking process, they all switched around. The batter floated to the top. The berries floated to the bottom. The butter mixed all in, and it ended up making that delicious cake. So we've got all of the steps there for you on that. And again, the batter was literally, again, flour, buttermilk, and vanilla, I think, on that one. So very simple. So again, you can follow us on Instagram or YouTube. Instagram is going to give you step by step, and then I think that should help. All right, so I'm going to get ready to end, and while I do that, I think I will end on my salmon wraps. Really healthy, really good on, and with the peppers and pineapple, and that was a Jack Daniel's marinade. At the end, I took some of that marinade, and I just put it in a saucepan, brought it up to good heat. Took a lettuce scrap, took a piece of lettuce, put the peppers and pineapple, which also had tomatoes and onions, put a piece of salmon on there, a little bit of that marinade, and then that was it. All right, guys. So again, we're going to give you a little bit more on the caregiving side. Y'all have a great day. Bye.